Welcome back, beautiful souls, to the Purposeful Wisdom podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Dawn Christine. I am your host. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe for those of you who are returning. Thank you so much for the support. For those of you joining for the first time, thank you so much for checking me out. If you like what you see, check out the other videos, like, share, subscribe. This channel is all about giving you guys the beautiful knowledge from others, from me, from experts, just to give you more guidance and wisdom. I have the privilege of talking with some amazing professionals in their fields to provide you guys with as many resources as possible in your healing journey to help you guys with anything that you're looking for. And without further ado, I have a very special guest with me today, all the way from Australia, Mr. Steve Vincent. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hey, Dawn, I'm really good. How are you? And thank you for having me on your show. Really, I'm honored to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I just want to give my listeners just a quick little briefing about who you are and your
Yeah.
background so that we can get into the topic of what we're going to discuss today.
Yeah.
So, Steve is a professional writer, teacher, spiritual coach, poet, and author. He has more than 33 years, y'all, of experience when it comes to helping others achieve the challenges and craziness in their lives. He really helps people find their dharma, which I love. His search for the truth of our human existence has stretched from the sands of the Sunshine Coast to the hot springs of New Zealand to the Peruvian Amazon for ayahuasca ceremonies, and has included in many energetic healing practices. He currently lives in Queensland, Australia, and when he's not writing and mentoring others, Steve can be found at one of the most beautiful beaches, communing with Mother Earth or gazing out to sea. Love that. Just love how simple that is.
Yeah, thank you.
Blissful.
Well, it is. It does sound blissful, and it is blissful. But one of the things, and I'd love all of your listeners to grasp this. Whenever we hear an expert, talking, we often elevate them. We think, oh wow, you've got it all going on. If only I had your life. And the moment you elevate them, what happens to you? You go down here.
Right.
I want everyone to know I still have my challenges. I have to wake up and go to the toilet every morning, just like you do.
Right.
No, I don't have a smooth day all the time. Yet. So every interview I do, every class that I teach, I really want to keep it real, because I think in the spiritual community, there's this perception that some bolt of lightning is going to hit us, and all of a sudden, Zen and Amen, and all of our problems are going to be solved, and everything will be blissful and peaceful and beautiful. But we still live in a 3D world, right? I still have bills to pay. You still have bills to pay. We have to eat. We have relationships with people in our lives. Zen, but we still have all this real world stuff, right?
It's about balance.
We can get caught up, I think, in thinking that there is this destination, if you like, of a spiritual endpoint. And listen, let me talk for me. In my experience, that doesn't exist. It's about navigating your way in a spiritual way through this heavy 3D world,
It's right. It's right. And for a lot of, and I believe the same thing, I know I am a light being and having a human experience, and we're supposed to grow and learn and evolve and take everything in, the good, the bad, the rainbows and unicorns times, the darkness, and embrace it all. And I think healing is a never ending thing. Our mission is to always grow and evolve and learn from others and be able to express ourselves and not feel that we're better than or less than anyone. I think that we all have to understand we're all equal. We all put our pants on the same way. We all get up the same way. Like we bleed the same color, so to speak. So taking that ego out of it is so important for people to just generally get along with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I'm very cognizant of as well these days, there is so much outward pressure to divide humanity. by gender, by race, by levels of spirituality. There is this focus on division. There is very little focus on, in my perspective, in my view, in my opinion, on what unites us as human beings. And I find that really sad. I find that really challenging, because the division actually spikes a whole lot of emotions within people, and we get it every day of the week. And it's, I try not to get caught up in that from an energetic point of view, but it's there. I can't ignore it. I can't put my head in the sand. I find it really sad, but
Right.
it's there. It's one of the cards that we have to deal with in this world is the constant push for division rather than the push for unity. Incredibly sad, but it's there. We have to navigate it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more with that. Honestly, if everybody just came together and we had this, deep down, we all want the same things. If we just work together, and like, how much better would this world be? And there's always these opinions back and forth of everything. Everything is divided, and it saddens me. I'm an empath, so I feel a lot of things.
Ditto.
And
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, it's just, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, why can't everyone just be nice and kind and work together? Like, how much better would this world be if things were like that? And I only pray that maybe one day we can get there. I still have hope. I still, honestly, Steve, I really do. I have to.
I think the answer for that, if there is an answer, is to look within and be the power within, rather than look outside and think that there is a solution, a savior coming, or whatever it might be, right? If I take the view that if I can live my life, with mantras and with beliefs about uniting rather than dividing, with beliefs about not being attached to outcomes, with beliefs about finding balance in my life, if I can be empowered that way, in my view, I've got a lot better chance of navigating all the stuff that's going out there. And I guess the other thing I would say as well is we can, in many ways, make ourselves special. And what I mean by that is that, life is so tough at the moment. Look at all the things going. I mentioned the division and so forth, and we can, we can say those things, but when you think about it, I'm in my 50s, and I think back over the 5 decades plus I've been on this earth. Well, was there ever really a time of peace? I mean, there was always a war somewhere. There was always a disaster somewhere. The human experience has these things. Doesn't make it easy. Doesn't mean, that we just shrug it off and go, oh, it doesn't matter. But our humanity tends to create these things. And, I think the more we can be realistic about, well, this is happening, the more from a place of centeredness that we can actually navigate our way through it moving forward.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more with you, honestly. I have that same mindset, and it comes down to mindset. That's what I specialize in: belief systems and mindset. And if everyone just took a different approach and took a step back and just saw things for what they were and were able to not have it affect them in that reaction sort of way, where it's just like, okay, I have a choice of how I am going to deal with everyday life, people would be so much more at peace. Because it starts within. You have to find that peace within yourself, and the answers are within you. Truly, they are. If you just take a moment to listen.
Yeah, there's a really good tool, Dawn, I'll just share with you. You're probably aware of it, called the drama triangle. And the drama triangle has 3 points to it, right? One of them is, at one point, is the victim. The next one is the persecutor, and the other one is the rescuer. Now, and this is, if you just get this one tool alone and see where, not point your finger at other people, but see where that is in your life, right? That can be a big awareness raiser as well, because you think about it, what we do, you have a disagreement with someone, and one of two things happens, right? You go, well, you're an idiot because of da-da-da, in which case you're being the persecutor. Or you go, oh, poor me, how dare you speak to me like that? or where you're a victim, and
Right.
then you might, then if you see someone going through that, you jump in and go, how dare you speak to that person like that? Or then you become the rescuer. And
Right.
those, because it's a triangle, right, they're at a peak, they are three really spiky emotional states to be in. And part of our human experience in navigating it is that we often run around and perform different roles within that drama triangle, right? And the more we
True.
can step out and see it at play in our lives, that is a source of discomfort and a source of unhappiness in our lives, I believe. The more we can not be one of those things in any given situation, the more we are balanced and in a centered state. For example, if geez, Dawn, I don't like the grey color of your sweater there, that's really awful, blah, blah, blah. You can automatically, me being the persecutor, you'll know, oh, how dare he come onto my show and say that? And, you get online and you go, do you know what my guest just said to me? And then, yeah, how dare they? That, there's all that drama, right? The thing is, though, as human
Right.
beings, we are so addicted to drama. We love it. We watch it. We're
Yeah.
attracted to it. We get drawn, but
Oh,
it's so
it's
energetically
exhausting.
draining. It is. It is so
I don't
energetically
like it.
draining. Yeah. Yet our ego wants to be drawn into it. So,
Right.
that was a big lesson for me, is discovering that, oh, hang on a minute, I do behave like that. I turn into a victim. And like I said, with the division at the moment, it's easy to be a victim and go, oh, how dare they? I feel so bad about all that. Gosh, why are they doing that? It's so horrible. I feel powerless. Or you go, oh, those, how dare those people do all that stuff to us? And
Right.
you become very much the persecutor, just like those who are peddling division. And so when you can recognize, oh, yeah, gee whiz, I was being the victim there, because the victim is a powerless state, right? Absolutely
Right.
powerless. And persecutor is also a powerless state, because all you're doing is feeding on negative energy of attack.
That's right.
You're not in control, right? And then if you're the rescuer, all you're doing is disempowering the person you're trying to rescue, because what you're saying is, oh, you cannot exist without me, so therefore I'm coming to your rescue, you poor little thing, and look how wonderful
Right.
I am and how bad you are. So they're all really
So true.
bad energetic states,
They
so
are.
yeah, if you can just and the interesting thing about it, we can, in the blink of an eye, go from victim to persecutor to rescuer, and it can seconds. And the more you can observe in your life, when you observe something, you've got a chance to step back out of it and change that behavior. So yeah, the
Absolutely.
drum triangle is a big one. Yeah.
Absolutely. You want
Yeah.
out of that triangle 100% and just, just
Oh yeah.
take things the way they are and just don't go to the sides of the triangle, whatever you do, no points, no
Yeah.
nothing, just be and do what's best for you. And I love that, because I definitely feel that that's going to open up the door, especially that you talk a lot about the masculinity role in this and how
Mm.
masculinity plays a part in this. So, in your opinion, what are some societal pressures or expectations that men face when it comes to conforming to like traditional masculine norms, especially that there's old belief systems out there of how men were raised through generations, and now coming to this sense of peace and openness. How does one even consider coming to this space?
Mm. Can you ask me an easy question, please? Well, there's me going into victimhood, right? Oh no, I can't answer that. It's so.
Last thing I want to do.
Look, it's a really really interesting question. I also think it's a very multifaceted, multi-layered question, and I'll probably get cancelled for saying this, but
Oh,
I think the starting point is there are fundamental differences between the masculine and the feminine. And, dare I say it, gosh, and here come all the persecutors, but the feminine by nature is more nurturing, more birthing, more giving. That the masculine by nature is more direct, more hunting, more, and part of, I think, the difficulty with the masculinity today is that in many respects, we've lost that it's okay to be that direct masculine, and the flip side of that, however, is that if it goes too far that way, men and working with men, we shut off part of ourselves, which is our emotions.
Yes.
And when we shut off part of ourselves, we're actually denying part of ourselves. And I think a whole part of this debate is that, gee, if I feel, and it gets back to those traditional masculine roles like of the hunter and the protector, because
Right.
if I show weakness, as in if I show emotion, therefore I can't fulfill that role of the hunter and the protector, right? Which is
Right.
locked in our DNA from
Mindset, of course.
generations ago, etc. So I think there's a two-part answer to this. It's acknowledging that masculinity has a 50% place in this world, and it's okay to be a masculine, which is often direct, which is very, very straightforward, very black and white. However, being a man also doesn't opt you out of the human race, and part of being human is that you have these emotions. You get jealous, you get afraid, you have love, all of those, all of the gamut that is our emotions. If we deny them as men, we are denying part of ourselves, and I think we miss a whole lot of richness, within ourselves. And if I reflect on my life, and gee, how many times have I cried? I cried when my parents passed away. I cried at the birth of my kids, but beyond that, I think I've worked hard to hold it in because I didn't want to show weakness. And gosh, how much of the richness of life have I missed because I had tried to be that stereotype? I don't know if that answers your question, Dawn,
It
but
does.
that's
No, absolutely it does, because I couldn't agree more. And I think in general, emotions are so important to tap into that, because it's about energy. You see masculine, feminine, but in all of us, even women have masculine energy too. Like it's not about the gender, it's about the energy. It's about what we show, emotions and connection. And there's this has always been this societal norm of men have to be this way. They have to be, like you said, the protectors in this, but it doesn't mean that just because you're taking on that male role of being the protector, the provider, or whatever else you want to call it, that you can't have or show emotions or talk about your feelings or effectively communicate with the opposite gender or with another guy, like to open up deep conversations and truly be able to express yourself, I think is so important. And it's this old belief system of I got to be this way and this is how I was raised. And I get it, especially from what I do. It's generational. This is what the great granddaddy taught, and it moves on generation to generation. And there's this expectation of showing up to this world in a fake way. And what does that look like for your health? That you just bottle all these emotions and not express them. I think that would be exhausting too.
Yeah, that's a heavy weight to carry around, right? Everything bottled up inside. That's a really, really heavy weight to carry. And I think men do that really, really well until they don't. And it manifests in physical illnesses. It manifests in, despair, sense of failure. When we don't, we as men, we as human beings, when we don't acknowledge that it's okay to have emotions, and they are part of me. Like I just can't cut, even though I tried all my life, right, to cut off part of me, and it just didn't work. I didn't feel whole. I didn't feel complete. I didn't feel. It didn't feel. I mean, women express their emotions much better, right?
Of course.
Tears and all those sorts of things, right? Because that's again part of that feminine energy. But yeah, a guy doesn't want to be seen to be crying. A guy doesn't want to be seen to be weak. I don't want to show that in front of my men peers. I don't want to show that in front of women because lest they think bad about me, right? That's the
so
thought
true. That's
process.
so untrue. It is. I think if anything, and obviously I could speak for the female race, there are so many women, and me included, that invite that in a man. That for a guy to literally go deep in conversation and express himself, like all women want that. We really do. We really do, because that opens up effective communication where 9 times out of 10, when a woman expresses how they feel and there are emotions involved and sometimes tears and all these things, and the male counterpart doesn't respond to that in conversation or just doesn't know how, it's like, wait a minute. And that's where a lot of relationships fail, because it's not equal, that the men just seem to hold on to it and not be able to express it. It's far from a sign of weakness.
I think,
at least to women it is.
I think a lot of, because men bottle it up, I think, and I'll just, probably based on the men that I've worked with, a lot of men, scared's the wrong word, but a lot of men are confronted with emotion. So when a female partner is emoting all the stuff, some men aren't comfortable with that, right? Because they're not used to doing that themselves, that their role models didn't do that at work. If they're in a masculine environment, like it's rah, 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 rah.
Right.
And then, that's really confronting. And so the men that I've worked with and the men's groups I've been in, when my experience is that men don't have trouble expressing their emotions when they feel safe and after a period of time. And one of the things I will say too in doing work with men is that when men see from others that it is safe and okay to, as in other men, it's safe and okay to express an emotion, and actually you aren't weak, you actually are showing strength. When they can see that, that lets down a barrier. Because the masculine energy is about that. We like to respect other men because they're manly, and they are respectable.
Right.
If the respectable man then is able to bring down his barriers and express his emotion and be raw for others in a group of men, that enables them to connect with, gee, well, do I really feel that way as well? And
right.
I think the dynamic is quite different when it's a female saying that, because just like men don't get women, women don't get men. Now I'm generalizing, of course, right? But
right.
But when it's
generally, yes, you're right.
Yeah. But when it's in a situation where, like I said, men feel safe, and it won't happen initially, but they will see someone expressing in a way that, oh, hell, I actually feel that way too. And, oh, hang on, it is okay for me to express that as well. When that barrier is broken, that's where men will express, I guess, is my experience. And if there's a lesson for women with men partners, if your man isn't, maybe there's an environment where he doesn't feel safe about doing that. And I don't know, the spectrum or the dynamic, right, of why that's the case. I've got no idea. But there will be something.
Anything.
Oh, anything. And let's face it could go back to his mother or his grandmother or his auntie or his dad or whatever it might be.
Right.
But unless there is the perception of safety, it is very difficult for a man, especially a man who's bottled things up their whole life, to express that in front of someone else. And yes, it is sad because, like I said, we're denying part of our human existence and our human experience, and we're denying part of the richness of what it means to be human.
I love that answer. Do you feel that it's necessary? So let's just take an ordinary, everyday married couple, right? And they have trouble where she's expressing, just, let's go face value here. She's expressive, he's not. what would you say to that dynamic? How could, like, and let's say they're married a long time, 20, 30 years, and all this time she's been trying to get him to open up. And what would you suggest? Like, do you feel that it's her that doesn't make him feel safe, or just in general, the ego or the belief of what he had previously? So, like, do you feel that there is a difference in that respect? And how could women in relationships help reassure their male partners that it is okay to express himself and it's not a sign of weakness?
I think one of the things a man wants is to be respected. And if he knows that no matter what, he will still be respected for who he is and for his strength, that is one part, I think, of this equation, right? Of how to get. But you say you've been married for 20 or 30 years. My goodness, there's an awful lot of patterns to undo,
right?
in those 20 or 30 years, right? So
let's say 5 years. Let's say they're newly married. Let's go there.
Yeah. So there has to be that safety, I think, and maybe. And it's also hard to recommend something to someone unless they're willing to look themselves. If there's men's work, men's groups, that, and because when I look at my life, my adult life, I really struggled to see the times where I had a really deep and meaningful conversation with another man for decades, as in we would have a barbecue, right? The men would stand around the barbecue, turning steaks, drinking beer. We'd go through the routine of, how's work going? What about the footy team? Gee, the weather's bad, politics, whatever it might be. There was a shopping list of things we'd go through.
Right.
And then we'd get to the end of that. And then what? And so most of the conversations I had with males during my life have been quite superficial, if I'm honest with myself, right? And it wasn't until I did begin a journey of, going within and, and being vulnerable and having, I guess, having the courage to keep looking and not be satisfied, and to even admit to myself that, gee, I do feel weak and vulnerable and I don't feel like I've got it all together. Like, I don't want to admit that to anyone, right? And it gets back to that if I'm weak, I'm not the protector and the provider kind of thing. That's locked somewhere back here. Speaking as a guy, I don't know if everyone feels this, but locked back somewhere, that is there as well.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I would encourage men to do men's work, where you are safe to talk about men's stuff. And I think one of the testimonials I got with one of the men's groups I ran, one of the guys said, it was lovely to be able to say what I really felt without fear of condemnation. Wow, those are strong words, right? Without fear of condemnation. Like, oh man, where has that come from? So I where are we not okay? And why have we made our lives, and I'm talking about men and women, why have we made our lives so that we fear condemnation of being honest about things? Wow, man, what a prison that is, right?
It is. And it's everything. It's all the outside influences that, you have to act a certain way, be a certain way, dress a certain way, believe a certain thing, and you get put into a box, and you're like a robot, and this is how I need to act, instead of just embracing who you are. And vulnerability is hard for both genders. Like, I have women clients too. It's so hard for them to express themselves and open up and get to that place of being true with them first. And then that's when the work begins. So, you're right about that. You have to find the truth within yourself and take the ego away. And that's hard for both genders, because ego lies at the head of all of this. It's your belief systems, your ego. What are people going to think? What are people going to say? And we're so busy worrying about what everybody else is thinking instead of how we feel. Because thinking and feeling are two different things too. We're not tapping into what we feel. We're too busy on how we're thinking. And
Yeah.
I think
Are
that's a
you?
disconnection as well.
Yeah, totally. Are you familiar, Dawn, with David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins, and his work?
No,
Power.
please tell me.
Okay, so he's written a number of good books. My two favorite ones are Power versus Force and Letting Go. He's passed now. But he did a lot of, I guess, connecting the ancient, or not the ancient, but the older stuff that Jung did, Carl Jung did, with more modern psychology. And I always print this out and put it on next to my computer when I'm doing a podcast, because to me it's really, really instructive about the human condition. So if it's okay, I just want to read this quote from his book, Letting
Please,
Go.
absolutely.
So and because it's tied in very intricately with what we're talking about here. He says, buried within all of us is what Jung called the shadow or collective unconscious, is everything we most dislike admitting about ourselves. The average human would rather project his shadow onto the world and condemn it and see it as evil, thinking that his problem is to battle with evil in the world. He goes on, there is nothing unique about any of us when it comes to the way we symbolize our emotions. He says, everybody secretly harbors the fear that they are dumb, ugly, unlovable, and a failure. I'll just read that last line again. Everybody secretly harbors the fear that they are dumb, ugly, unlovable, and a failure. I mean, man, that gets me right here, right? And
like I felt that. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could admit, of course, yeah, like absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To me, when I read that, I felt it deeply, but in some way, I also felt quite liberated, because it was like, oh, thank goodness, it's not just me,
Right.
like, oh,
Right.
it's everyone. And I think hearing those words and knowing that all of the negative stuff, because I mean, negative emotions, they're not nice, right? I don't want to feel like a failure, or feel really weak or feel disconnected. I don't want to feel any of that. It's horrible. I'd rather ignore it, right? And focus on football or a concert or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, because that's an easy coping mechanism. But when we understand that feeling dumb, feeling ugly, feeling unlovable, feeling like a failure is part of the human condition, it's like, oh, okay, it's not just me. Because when you feel that, it feels very personal, like there's walls closing in around you, right? And no one, you go onto social media, there's someone out at a party or at a football game, or, with a celebrity or at a concert or whatever, and you go, oh, I'm so terrible, whereas knowing that everyone actually feels that way and is trying to navigate their life even though they feel that way, to me is a really liberating thing. And it gives a deeper sense of perspective, both for the masculine and the feminine, right? In many ways, we're all struggling, right? We're trying to find the way forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, where choice comes in, because at the end of the day, people will snapshot what they want on social media. You're going to see a glimpse of their life that's happy. And this is me. It's a persona, like, and then everybody goes to that place and creates a narrative. Oh, their life is so great. You have no clue what's going on behind someone's closed doors. And to understand that everyone feels at the deep down in their core the same thing. At one point in their life, they're going to feel less than, they're going to feel not good enough, they're going to feel like crap some days and dumb and all these other things. That's part of being human. But at the same time, it's okay, now that you are aware of this, that everybody is on the same playing field, what are you going to do about it? Because then that's where choice comes in, right? You could either stay in victim mode and be one of those points in the triangle, or you can make a conscious decision and choice to, okay, this is what it is. What am I going to do about it now?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, very much so. And what you do when you do that, you empower yourself. You're no longer the victim as such, right? And one of the other things, and I'd encourage people to consider this. I saw a hashtag, and it was hashtag words are spells. And you think about that. Words are spells. In other words, words create your reality. What words are you saying to yourself? What words are bouncing around here? Are the words that are dominant in here, are they that you are dumb, you are ugly, you are unlovable, and you are a failure?
Right.
Is that what you're spelling into your life? Whether you're male or female, is that what you're
Right.
spelling into your life?
You're absolutely right. And my
Yes.
clients, that's what I like, honestly, that's what I specialize. I literally, a lot of my clients come to me and they have whatever belief system is in their head of whatever that root is, whether it's childhood, whether it's trauma, whatever it may be. And then it's like, okay, this is what happened, but this is the belief system. So let's break down that belief system and create a new belief system. Because are you these things? What proof do you have that this is real? Or is this something that society is telling you, how you were raised, all these different things? And when I start working with clients and they start believing and starting to see the I ams of who they are, and they start believing new things, the transformation is before my eyes. It's so incredible that they actually have a choice. You could either choose to believe what you were taught, maybe, or what society taught you, or take your power back and empower yourself and know who you are and create new belief systems.
Yeah. Dawn, here's another one. I feel very connected to nature, and I take a lot of lessons, I guess, from nature. And I love the saying that just like nature, life is impermanent and imperfect. Life is impermanent and imperfect. And here's a challenge for you, right? Go out into your backyard or your park, your local park, whatever it is, and look at a flowering shrub or tree or plant, and go and pick or just get up close and look at 3 different flowers. Right now, from a distance, that's just beautiful. Look at the blooms, the blossoms, da 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 da. Or if it's fall, go and look at the leaves that are dropping on the ground. But you look at say 3 of those flowers, you might notice that one flower has 5 petals, another flower has petals, another flower has a couple of petals that are all curled up and ugly and dying or whatever it might be, or have marks in them. From a distance, look at the beauty, the perfection. You go up close and you actually find that that is imperfect. And who are we to think that we are not part of nature, that we need to be perfect? Because we're not. Look around you. Go, I challenge you, go outside and have a look. Even look at the nice arrangement you've got behind you there. Like, if you go and look at those, you'll go, oh, actually, they're beautiful, but they're also a little bit, one's a bit bigger, one's a bit smaller, one's closed up, one's open, one's like, so we are not perfect. Nature is not perfect.
My shirt says perfectly imperfect.
Well, there you go.
So,
I couldn't read
that's
that.
not a coincidence that and I chose to wear this way before we even met on here today or anything, but you're so right about that. Like, take the perfect out of it and just learn to progress. It's not about perfection. It's about progress.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, that's a really interesting point.
It's so true.
People go, I just want to be happy, but what does that really mean? I actually don't think because if you want to be happy, that's kind of a destination, right? Like, when I get to a certain point, but it's not happiness, or it's not that destination that makes people happy. It's actually progress that makes people happy. Seeing that they have changed their thinking, they might have changed the way they do things, they might have changed their dress, whatever it might, their hairstyle. Like, progression of things is what makes us human beings energized and therefore happy. Whereas when we stagnate, we get caught in our story in our heads. There's another saying that human beings are like a tree. We're either growing or we're dying. And if you are stuck in your head, whether you're male or female, whether you're stuck with that story going on in your mind, you're spelling a really weird story in your head. Are you growing and progressing, or are you dying? It's a really interesting question to ask yourself. If I am stagnant, what do I need to do? Like listening to podcasts like this and other things, what do I need to do to progress myself? Because it's through that progression where we find movement, and movement brings us more peace, and it brings us out of that, that dark hole that we can sometimes make for ourselves.
Absolutely right. And honestly, people think of happiness as a thing. It's a source outside themselves. It's like, I have to find this pen, and it's not. Happiness starts with you. And abundance, even everybody labels abundance as being rich and famous and all this. Abundance could just be that you're healthy, you're paying your bills, your children bring you happiness, your friends bring you happiness, your significant, that's abundance too. We're so busy labeling things, and if you don't get to this status, then you're not this or that. Happiness is here. It's knowing who you are, being comfortable in your own skin, being authentically you, unapologetically you. That's happiness. It's not about the stuff.
In your imperfection, right? In your
That's
imperfection.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I love that.
I can't believe the synchronicity of that, right? Like,
exactly.
Because I can only see the top half of perfectly there. I can't
perfectly
see the
imperfect. Yep. I mean, when I saw this shirt, I was like, that's mine. Because I told, like, I know, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not supposed to be perfect. I'm supposed to be learning and growing and progressing. Yeah. And if I take that expectation out of myself, man, there's so much less pressure. Yeah. With that, you're not aiming for, because it's unrealistic. We're all perfectly imperfect. We're perfect being unperfect. So if you look at it that way. Yeah, if nature, which has been around for a lot longer than human beings are, nature can't be perfect. Who the heck are we to think we can be perfect or should be perfect? You know, again, words are spells. If you've got that, I need to be perfect or whatever going around, what are you spelling into your life? Exactly. I love that. I love that saying. No, and that's definitely something new you taught me today, because I love, like, when you really break that down, it's like, oh, like, I never thought of it that way. Oh, Steve, you have 2 books. I would love for you to show my listeners your books in case and I will put your information in the links. I always put in the description of how people can contact you, especially my male supporters, my female supporters, whoever wants to contact Steve, y'all know I'll put all his information in the description box, but please show us your books. Okay, so the first book I published is a poetry book under my first 2 names, Steve Vincent. It's called Finding You. You can get it at Amazon, or you can go to stevevincentonline.com. You can download one of the poems from there called She'll Be Okay. And as you can see, it says poems and reflections for the journey into your shadow self, right? And so it's all about words to help you reflect, you know, going within. I'm happy to read a poem if you'd like, a quick poem, if that's interesting. Please, are you kidding? All right. Please do. I love that. So, no, go for it. So this one is on page 142. It's called Just Be. And so it goes like this. It's quite short. It goes, let go, open up, be still, find quiet, just be. Turn off, shut down, allow in, slow time, just be. Go soft, lighten up, feel love, release tension, just be. Close eyes, shrug shoulders, silence mind, welcome calm, just be. Feel good, hold space, listen out, feel free, just be. Sit there, look around, listen up, breathe deep, hello me. And so that's that's to me, that's a call to arms to slow the F down. You know, we get so beautiful. Well, thank you. We get so caught up with being busy, right, and having things to do. Like, when was the last time you just went and sat on the grass and just felt the earth under your feet? Right. Put your phone away and just looked around, just breathed, looked at the clouds, looked at the birds, just for 5 minutes or 10. Yeah. When was the last time you did that without an agenda? I do it every morning. Yeah. I literally have to grab my coffee, go out on my back porch. I have a backyard, and I ground myself barefoot in the grass, look up at the sky, take a deep breath. Like, that's how I ground myself every single morning to start my day. Because I love nature. There's so much beauty. And I'm old school. I'm not somebody that's on my phone constantly. I'm just not that person. I can't wait. Like, I purposely put my phone on do not disturb when I want peace and quiet. And I sit outside and I watch the sunset and see the stars come out. And I can't wait for this full moon ritual, the blue moon. I'm like so excited. And like, I embrace all of that and I take it all in and I become one with nature because it's so grounding and so therapeutic.
Yeah.
And the nature has its own messages if you just listen.
Yeah. But we're too busy
I
doing,
love that.
right? We're human doings.
That's right.
We're actually human beings. Why don't you just be once a
Exactly.
week, once a day, like maybe twice or 3 times a week? Just start, just go and be, have any agenda. Just be for a little bit of time, just you and your thoughts and you and Mother Nature. Just be,
You're right.
whether you're male or female. Slow the F down.
That's
Just
right.
be.
That's
Just be.
right.
You don't have to do anything or be anything. Just be.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just in that moment, you'll find so much peace that you never knew you even was possible.
Yeah.
Literally.
And
Literally.
I think one of the lines in there was breathe deep. One of the other things that I know is that when we are in stress or a flight or flight, we breathe really shallow, right? From here, it's that big, and breathe down into your belly like a child does, right? If your belly button comes out when you breathe deep, that has a whole lot of effects on your sympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
Whereas when we're in that stressy mode where our breathing is really shallow and fast, and so just there's an awful lot. It's so simple and it seems so trivial, but there's an awful lot of power in doing that, to get back to the core of who you are and your essence.
That's right. Steve, I love this. Thank you so much for your
Pleasure.
time. All the way from Australia. I love this that we're able to connect seriously. And my viewers are going to love this episode. I just love your wisdom. And I truly appreciate your time and coming on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn. I've enjoyed being here, and hopefully your listeners have got a lot out of it as well. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. All of Steve's information is going to be in the description box, along with my information in case you need to reach out to any of us. We're here to help and guide and teach and grow together. That's what this is all about. Thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.